Awesome. Good stuff. It's good. Hey, there's Alex Camacho. Hey, Alex, I heard you you moved a new office, yeah? And Alex's office has no sound because we can't hear it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, in Antelope Valley in Palmdale, so I'm really excited about that new venture. Thank you.
Solid, man. That's great. Congratulations to you. I saw your schedule that you're working Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. Is that right? And then you're going to be out on the road finding deals?
That's right, sir. Thank you for checking my post out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, some people call it checking your post out. Other people call it stalking. So, you know, whichever way works better, you know?
I wore my Hawaii, my Tommy Bahama shirt in honor of Brandon and what's his name, and Ryan checking in today.
That's awesome. I should have done that. I was feeling more Seahawks because I'm so sad NFL's not really happening very well. It's kind of all over the board.
So, Kakoa, Tom Porter just texted me, said he can't make the meeting. He wanted to say hello to everyone. And if you need anything in Ohio, he's the best realtor.
He is.
Besides the best realtor on the Big Island is Ivory, and the best realtor on, forget it, on Oahu. We'll give Ashley. It's her birthday. Let's give her a shout out for Ashley for her birthday.
Oh, it's Ashley's birthday. Happy birthday.
Ashley's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Woo!
Thank you.
That's exciting. Yay. Turning 19 again.
21.
21. Solid.
That year's better.
That's awesome. And Nate Robbins. Nate Robbins is in the house. What's up, Nathan? And his sound doesn't work either. Nate's on the road. He's always scoring a deal. Always finding another deal.
That's it. I just got done door knocking a house. They were home.
Nice. You were door knocking a house. Where were you door knocking?
There's a couple sellers that live up here in Seattle, so I was just knocking on the door. And, unfortunately, 1 o'clock in the afternoon is not a good time to door knock. So I was just close by, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Now I just got to stalk them on the phone.
Yeah, there you go. Stalking, follow up. You know, it's all semantic.
Follow up. Yeah. I'm not a stalker.
Yeah, totally. Hey, if anybody's looking for an off-market church to buy, Nate's got a lead on a really cool property up here in the Northwest.
No, it's only for you, man. If you don't buy it, it's only for you, man.
Seriously? Okay, sounds
No,
great.
I'm just kidding.
We'll have to buy it together then. We'll start a church.
Done. Done. Let's do it, man.
That's awesome.
Number 2 guy though. You gotta be the head guy.
No way.
Kakoa, I know a good pastor if you need one.
Yeah. That's
your hair is on point, and you're in way better shape than I do. Plus, you look better in skinny jeans. So all around, you are the front guy. I'll just be the hype guy that comes up and gets you pumped up.
Well, you know what? Actually, we could have Brandon Turner be the front guy. He's much taller than us. He's got a better looking beard, and he was youth ministry as well, right?
Yeah.
That I was.
So Brandon's a great communicator, but he's definitely in charge of worship. I don't know. That guy can sing. So.
You haven't heard me rap. I'm actually a better rapper. You should see my Christian rap handle. Is
do it.
It's sus, like the chord. That's my rap handle. It's really good.
I feel like that's a thing you can't bring up and not do it too. We got to see something.
Do
it and you're cool.
There you go, Brandon.
Oh yeah, no, you don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear me rap. I can do the entire ISS Baby though, so that counts for something. And no, I'm not going to do that, but you can YouTube search that. My wife and I did that on a road trip once. It's on YouTube. You can look.
That is awesome.
I'm just a little worried. I'm pretty sure it's in our appearance rider that our agent sent over that Nate Robbins is prohibited from attending all events. Can somebody call security, please?
I'm glad you guys feel the same way. We feel the same way up here about him too, but we love him. He's a good guy. That's awesome. Hey, looks like Leica Devatha's on. Hey, Leica, how are you today?
Hi, guys. Hi, Brandon and Ryan. I had to come see my peeps.
Hello.
Guys, I have a quick story about Ryan's wife. We were at Brandon's mastermind last year, and Ryan's wife is so sweet. They have this massive mango tree in their backyard, and she brought me the biggest box of mangoes, like all chopped up, and it's like the sweetest, best thing that anyone's ever done.
Yeah,
so thank you, Pinky.
She's way better than what I deserve for sure.
Way better, way better. I agree.
That's awesome. Right on. How is everything out on Maui right now, Ryan and Brandon?
Quiet. We're both on our 14-day quarantine. We left the island and we came back, so we can't actually leave our property. So yeah, we're just stuck here at home, hanging out, and surviving somehow together.
Somehow putting each other.
Yeah.
Wait, aren't you guys licensed general contractors as well?
Are you hiring?
No, just because if you're a licensed general contractor, even if you're not really practicing, you're considered essential.
I was at one point. I am no longer, sadly.
Oh, well, that's all right. Quarantining at home's fun.
Yeah, I got a pool, so we just hang out in the pool a lot. And yesterday we actually brought 2 lawn chairs down to the end of the driveway, and a buddy of ours came to the end of the driveway as well, and we just hung out for like 3 hours at the end of the driveway.
Yeah, he sat in the street, we were in the driveway, and we were compliant.
We're all compliant.
And that's the best part. And then you could bust out your guitar, do some rap, a little Connie Kapila style.
He's only got a license to ill now.
Yeah.
I have a question. Doesn't it like the fact that Brandon, you got back later, nullify Ryan's quarantine? Like, isn't this like COVID thing, like cooties? Like you have to start your quarantine all over now that Brandon came back.
That's not the ruling.
Yep.
No, I specifically asked. It doesn't make any sense. I'm glad that they haven't mandated that, but that's like right now, like Pinky got out of quarantine before I did. She's out running around right now, and we share the same house, so it doesn't make any sense. But,
you could live with a family member who is not quarantining, and you have to quarantine. So explain that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then they shut down the beaches, but yet you can go inside and go to a gym and you can go to restaurants.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. It's crazy, but it's awesome. Well, we're just letting a couple more folks jump in here to hang out with us. Thanks for cruising with us, Brandon and Ryan, all the way out there in Maui.
Yeah.
We've got folks from around the world, around the country.
Brandon and Ryan, Ashley and I are heading over to your neck of the woods.
Are you?
We'll be there in Maui soon.
Nice. When? They're shutting down inter-island travel soon, so get over here quick. What do you say?
We're not sure what Corey said, but I don't think he knew that piece of information. So what?
Yeah, I think August 11th. They just announced it. So
Corey's leaving at noon today.
Oh, okay. Well, I would invite you over to hang out, but you can't come on my property legally. So we can hang out at the end of the driveway, though. We can have a driveway jam session.
Play tennis across the street.
Exactly. We can play tennis across the street. That'd be great.
That's awesome. Well, right on. Hey, why don't we just, we'll grab started. So again, welcome everybody on the Coffee Talk on Fridays. Glad you're with us. We have been meeting over here over the last several weeks because of COVID and just learning from each other. It's really just a forum. Everyone's bringing their coffee on Friday afternoon, kind of asking questions about what everyone's noticing in the market, what's happening around the world. And then, of course, we have an opportunity to meet some special guests from time to time. And, of course, today, Brandon Turner, Ryan Murdock, welcome. Glad you are with us. You guys look so comfortable and so happy out there.
We're so happy.
Yeah. Well, you look like you were about to turn on Netflix. So I was curious if we were going to watch some cool movie. Oh, look, actually, we're going to watch pictures of you.
We're just going to leave that picture up there for the rest of this interview. This is me with my mullet. Thought you guys would enjoy that.
That's awesome. Well, we wanted to start off with just actually hearing a little bit more of your story. I think most folks know you're tied to, of course, Bigger Pockets, but not too often do we get to hear some of the story of how you got started, just about real estate and just kind of the background information. And then maybe Ryan, some of that. I had the chance to just kind of hang out with you guys over coffee at Tarl's event last year, back when there was events, back when we could do conferences. Super cool to just hear some of your background. But Brandon, just share us a little bit about what your background is in terms of, I know you were in youth ministry for a while, which is cool. And then you kind of rolled into real estate. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Yeah, I was. It was a dark and stormy night back in 1985, and I was born and lived in Minnesota until I could escape. And so I left Minnesota, went to the West Coast, and met in college, my wife Heather, and we ended up traveling around the country a couple different times. Minnesota, Washington. Lived in Washington, and then I went bowling with a friend and this friend's sister, and the friend's sister said. She was a real estate agent. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a rental. I need a place to rent. And she said, well, why don't you just buy? It's cheaper. And I said, there's no way that's true. And she said, no, really, it's cheaper to buy here than it is to rent. And so we ran the numbers, and sure enough, it was cheaper for me to buy than to rent. So I I grew up with a garage sale mom that always taught me to buy the cheapest thing you could possibly buy. So I bought the cheapest house in all of Grays Harbor, Washington, which was a $89,000 4-bedroom, 1-bath ranch style house.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that was '07. So like the height of the market, '07, it was the cheapest house on the market, and I bought it. And then I fixed it up and I sold it like a few months later. Like I didn't live there long. I actually just lived in it for a while. Then I realized I could make a bunch of money if I sold it. So I sold it. So it was kind of a flip, like a live-in flip.
Yeah.
And I realized that was way more fun than being a lawyer, which is what my other plan was. So I scrapped law school plans and I started flipping houses in Grays Harbor, which as 2008 hit, a terrible time to flip houses in Grays Harbor. For those of you who've been to Grays Harbor, it's not nice. And so
it's a ways out there.
You're what?
It's a ways out there. There's a whole other time zone.
Yes, it is a ways out there. And, you know, a couple people have jobs there, but most of them don't, or at least didn't at the time. So it was, I ended up just acquiring rental properties because flipping wasn't working. And ended up house hacking. I bought a duplex then, lived in half, rented the other half out, and then just got into the business of collecting rental units and ended up with about 30 or 40 out there before decided to jump into the bigger leagues with this guy.
That's
my
awesome.
story.
That's awesome. That is a great story. And tell us a little bit about the, you were a youth pastor just kind of as a, not an occupation, but just more volunteer.
Yeah, there was a point where, like during that period, I just started volunteering, helping because I really enjoyed hanging out with like the teenagers and like kind of helping them. And they're, you know, kids are a mess, and kids in Grays Harbor are even a bigger mess. And so it was like, I actually really enjoyed that. Like I have a 6th grade mentality. And so when I hang out with 6th graders, I just have a great time. A lot of dodgeball and duct tape. Yeah, one of my favorite games ever is what you do is you take somebody, you put them on a chair. We're gonna do this to you someday, and you get a bunch of duct tape and you duct tape them to the wall, and then you pull the chair away, and they're just floating in the middle of the air. So things like that, I get a lot of fun with. So we will be doing that.
You might do that, but you have to work hard.
Yeah, we'll tie him up first, and then we'll put him on the wall. Team building.
So
it
sounds like a great icebreaker as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the worship leader, like the person who led music at the church, and the youth leader, then at least at some point left right around the time I bought my first apartment complex, like my 24-unit apartment building. And I was like, well, I don't have a job anymore. I was just managing rentals and living kind of semi-retired, I guess, you know, managing your own rentals and doing your own work.
Yeah.
So I took over that at the church and just started volunteering for the next, six years.
Wow.
With leading the youth group kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And a great place to network too, right? You get to meet a lot of people.
That's actually where I bought my apartment from, with somebody I met at church.
Yeah,
and most of my partners came from people at church.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I went to college at Bethel Seminary up in Minnesota. So your neck of the woods.
Yeah, right. I was Western, so we were like the two schools right next to each other up there.
Yeah, you were the crosstown rivals, man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Ryan, what about your story? How did you get started, and how did you end up connecting up with Brandon?
Yeah, sure. I started around the same time as Brandon, 2007, 2008, but he constantly reminds me that I was a lot older when I started, and I'm still a lot older.
Wait.
Yeah, so I guess he just equates that to he's generally smarter. So yeah, I was in electronics manufacturing for about 10 years and just didn't see that as a long-term career. I liked it at the time, but I just didn't see myself working for somebody else or kind of stuck in a cubicle for another 30 years. So I was looking for something else to do, and stumbled across real estate, a few websites and some books, and like that seemed to be where people were parking money that they had, and it seemed like fun. So I moved. I was living in Asia at the time. I moved back to Maine, where I'm from, and bought a duplex, just house hacked, lived in one side, rented out the other, and slowly but surely added units to grow my portfolio up to about 50 doors now, small multifamily stuff in Maine. Around the same time I started doing that, I also started a property management company, which I grew to roughly 200 units, and got my real estate license so that I can handle my own showings and write my own offers. And I was targeting a lot of foreclosures and that type of thing, low dollar properties that would disappear quick. And it was tough to find an agent who would really hustle to get my offer in, understandably so, because there was no money in it for them. Yeah. So I said, let me just, I had no intention of working with buyer and seller clients, although that's what ended up happening for the better part of a decade. But I got my license just to do my own deals. So, what I learned early on and in this business, and I think probably a lot of other people would agree with this, you've got to hustle and sort of diversify. If your goal was anything like mine, which is to build a rental property portfolio, and you're going to do it on your own, you've got to be involved in a lot of different facets of the industry. So
that's awesome.
yeah, fast forward a dozen or so years, Brandon was looking for a mobile home park. He had some 1031 money that he was looking to place, and put out a shout out on the Bigger Pockets podcast and pretty much everywhere else you popped up at that time that you were beating this drum looking for a 50 lot plus mobile home park with public water, public sewer. And I happened to find one local to me in right outside of Bangor, Maine, and was thinking like, you know, there's no way that Brandon Turner is going to want to buy a mobile home park out here in the sticks. But I got to send it to him anyway. It's worth a shot. So emailed you the numbers and ended up liking the park coming out. We did due diligence on the park and a month or so later closed on it. So that was around the beginning of 2018, which from there, I don't like to admit this in front of him, but we started to build a friendship and a business relationship.
Hey, calm down. Calm down.
I get a little ahead of myself.
He's not ready to go that far in the relationship
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, not ready yet. We can't take it to that level.
Yeah. You're still kind of working things out.
Yeah,
You have to live with each other for the next 14 days, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Only 3 more for him.
You notice anytime we have on screen, he mandates that I'm always a few inches shorter than him on screen. So,
Yes.
But no. So that was 2018, and we operated that park together. I was the boots on the ground guy for a year, and just built this relationship with Brandon to the point where you bought your house out here in Maui, and just asked me to come out for a week just to help him get settled in and do some things that needed to be done in a new acquisition of this house that had been vacant for a few years. And came out for a week, absolutely fell in love with Maui. That week led to a month, and that month led to me flying back to Maine just long enough to grab my wife, dogs, sell all my stuff, list the house for sale, and then buy a one-way ticket back here to Maui, where we're working on Bigger Pockets projects. You had some personal projects, but most importantly now, and what takes up most of my time and effort is Open Door Capital. So we're building this juggernaut of a mobile home park acquisition company.
Yeah, well, that's exciting, man. So I'm just curious, how did that conversation go with your wife? It's like, hey, I'm kind of dating this guy up in Maui. He's got a lot of facial hair. We haven't gone to the next level in our relationship, but what do you think about, packing up your bags and, maybe moving to Maui of all places? Like, how did that even work?
Yeah, because I called her, I don't know, on the 3rd day I was here and was like, honey, just quit your job and fly out here. Like, we'll figure it out, but just quit and move out. She's like, whoa, easy. 'Cause she tends to be a little more grounded than I am on pretty much everything. But I did convince her to just come out. I said, all right, well, you don't have to quit your job, but like book a flight, come out here for a week, see how you like it. And knowing the whole time that as soon as she got off the plane, she would most likely fall in love with the place, to which she did. And she was totally on board with the move. We had been looking for a change of scenery anyway. We were kind of sick of cold, long winters, and had been looking for an opportunity to at least winter somewhere warmer. And then when this opportunity presented itself to move to Maui, it was just a home run opportunity for a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it was a pretty tough decision. You got Maine, you got Maui, Maine, Maui. That's awesome. Well, fantastic. Well, we're super glad to have you guys on. We usually try to keep this fairly tight, and we're just glad to be able to learn from you guys today. And we're all tuning in because we all have an interest in what you guys are doing at Open Door Capital, and it's remarkable. I think all of us have heard a little bit about it and heard some of the stories, and I think most of us have heard about the Maine story, because why would a guy from Washington suddenly be shopping in Maine, right? And then he heads out to Maui, which is, our old neck of the woods, and we love that. So it's fantastic. But let's just dive in, and then folks are going to add some questions in the chat as we go along. It's super informal, so folks may just jump in. And so it's not really a podcast, if you will. It's really a conversation over coffee and really just amongst friends. So we're just glad that you guys are friends of ours. And if we can all pool together and be a part of a mobile home park, that would be fun. There's about 100 of us, everyone chips in 100 grand. We're ready to go. How's that sound?
We're good. Bring it. That's all we need.
Let's do it. So tell us a little bit about mobile home parks. A lot of us on this call, this coffee talk, are investors. We're flippers. We do buy and sell, some buy and hold. Some of us have rentals that we're burring. Others of us are house hacking. But mobile home parks are not something that a lot of folks have talked about, except for Brandon, who speaks about them pretty often. And so everyone's like, hey, check those out. I'm an RV guy, so I love RVs. I like RV parks. So those are interesting. But mobile home parks are totally different. So tell us a little bit about the difference when you're doing an analysis on a property. And, most of us have the theology or the terminology for flips and holding residential, or if not, maybe multifamily units. So tell us how the mindset changes when it comes to mobile home parks.
You go. I'll jump in when you get something wrong.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So mobile home parks, first of all, I always want to make it clear that I didn't choose them because they're the best investment. I chose them because I chose them. In other words, it's more important that you decide something than what you decide. I'm a firm believer in that. Like I could have said RV parks and I would have been all in on that. We would have had open door capital buying those. Or I could have been flipping. I could have been rentals. I could have done like multifamily, Section 8, doesn't matter. So at some point, you just have to pick something and go all in. I believe it's good to focus and figure out what you want to, be the best at. And we thought, well, we could probably be the best at this niche. So that was that. I really liked them. The thing that appealed to me was that I didn't have to deal with contractors. That was a complete lie. We have to deal with contractors constantly. In fact, probably more than we would have buying multifamily. So ironically, the thing that first got me excited about them is completely wrong about the niche. That said, just the idea of owning land and not owning homes. That's like the biggest difference here of what we like about it is we don't want to be owners of real estate. We want to be landlords. Like we want to walk in there and be like, we're the Lord of this land and start throwing things at people. And not really.
Perfect.
No, but we want to be like, we just want to own the land. We just want to be like, you pay us to live here. Something breaks on your house, you fix it. The reason we deal with a lot of repairs is because we're infilling a ton of homes. We bought 30 homes this year. Yeah. And we have to fix them all up and add them, fix them up and then sell them to people in the community to live there. And so there's actually a lot of rehab going on.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
so then you're buying the land that the mobile homes sit on, and you don't necessarily own the mobile homes that come with the whole park.
Right. That's the end goal is, and that's kind of an industry norm is most larger operators want to get to the point where they don't own any of the homes. They're all tenant owned homes. We just own the land. Now, when we buy a park, it's unlikely that we buy them in that condition. Usually there's some degree of park-owned homes. So our push is always to try to transition those existing park-owned homes to tenant-owned homes. And there's a few different ways you can do that. You could either sell them to the tenant if they'll agree. Some operators will give the home away just to get them off the books and get them over to the tenant. If neither of those work, you could always force a renter to say, hey, look, either you got to take possession of this or move out. We don't like to force anybody into that situation. So usually what we'll do is if there is a park-owned home with a renter in it, we'll let them finish their occupancy, whether it's a year or 10 years, we'll let them do what they're going to do and ride out their tenancy. But once they move out, we'll turn that home around and only offer it for sale. We won't rent it. The other piece about mobile home parks, it's a little different than apartments, is that infill and value add strategy. So when we buy a park, our target park is typically 60 to 70% occupied. So we'll buy it at its present value, and typically they function and they cash flow and they operate just fine at 60 to 70% occupancy at the price we paid for it. But the infill component is different from, say, an apartment complex. If you're going to add value significantly to an apartment complex, really what you need to do is go in and renovate the unit. So you're spending 5, 10, 15, 20 grand per unit, and then hoping that you can raise the rent, $200, $300 a month to offset that, which in a lot of cases works. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just that the mobile home parks are different in a sense that our infill value is from filling those vacant lots. So we don't have to go in and renovate or change any of the existing homes. Although a lot of times we put effort into we'll repave the roads and change the landscaping and improve the signage and just improve the overall feel of the park. But the real value add is filling the lot. So when it comes to filling lots, the easiest way is for a tenant to bring in their own home and set it up. And now they start paying you lot rent. And that was a pretty painless transition.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of us will live long enough to see a park filled out solely by waiting on tenants to move their own homes in, because there just isn't that much movement. So what we often will do is go out and buy homes, either brand new homes or used homes. We'll bring them in, we'll fix them, get them set up, and offer them turnkey for sale. So these are fixed up. Everything's good to go. We want the tenants to succeed, and we want them to have a nice place to live, and they'll buy that home from us. So the goal for selling those homes is not to make money on the profit of the actual sale of the home, which if we do, it's great, but that's not the target. We're happy if we can spend, say we're buying a used home, and to get it purchased, set up, renovated, and sale ready, it costs us 20 grand. If we sell that home for 20 grand and it's a wash, we're happy. If we sell that home and even lose maybe a couple $1,000s on it, we're still happy, because what we've done is put a otherwise out of service lot in service. We're collecting now that $300 to $400 a month lot rent, which goes almost directly to the bottom line because there's very little expense associated with that. And by doing that, it increases the NOI and increases the value of the park. So every single one of those lots we fill is a tremendous value add.
That's awesome.
It's not something you can get in the apartment space.
So really then you're just, you're providing land and an electrical and a sewer hookup, and then they provide the home, and then you charge them monthly to basically park their house.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The
So
long-term RV.
yeah, it's fantastic. So go back a little bit to the acquisition side. So kind of notoriously, if you will, or infamously, mobile home parks are known for people that are maybe don't care as much, or they're having more difficulties in life, and they may not be as conscientious about being good neighbors. What are you discovering about that, and what do people like us who are more familiar with multifamily units and the value add of transitioning those units so that way you get higher rent? It sounds like some cases these tenants stay a long time before you can actually transition them. So how does that all play into your analysis in the acquisition side?
We did have a hooker and a bank robber. So
wow.
That's yeah, not in the same person, two different people in the same.
And that was Greg Gaudet, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was Greg. Yeah.
I think he's on the call. I don't think it's fair we're making fun of him if he's not on. I think he said he's flying back from New Jersey and was going to be on.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
hopefully
there is some element of that. I mean, there's an element of that in every asset class, but there seems to be a stronger stigma in the mobile home park space, probably because it's more headline worthy and it's funnier. I mean, there's no bigger fan of Trailer Park Boys than me. I mean, I love that show and all that stuff, but that's not necessarily reality. There is a small element, but what we found in the parks that we target is a real significant pride of ownership. Where tenants, they own their home. So unlike in an apartment where an apartment tenant could just rent a U-Haul and pack up and be gone in a matter of hours, the mobile home tenants own their home. So they purchase this thing, they've been maintaining it. There's some emotional attachment because they have memories there. They've been there for a long time. They get pride of ownership. So we see, number one, a lot longer average tenancy length than you see with apartments, and in a good, well-run park, a lot of pride of ownership. They want their place to look nice. It's their home. It's their community.
Yeah.
So we've certainly passed on parks that were, the stigma, everything that you think about trailer parks that are not good, that we didn't think that we were going to be able to fix. I mean, there are some of those that just aren't salvageable, but a lot of the parks that we target are either not like that, or there's some element of that. But if we go in and we clean out the people that are causing problems and the people that are bringing the community down and replace them with normal functional human beings, it makes for a great community.
Yeah. Normal functioning human beings. I don't think anybody on this coffee talk is one of those, so I'm not sure we'd even qualify.
Yeah, we wouldn't rent to you. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, right? I wouldn't even
have a much shorter derogatory term, but normal functioning human beings seemed more appropriate for this call.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about this analysis process. As you're going into this park, you kind of told us a little bit, how the units work relative to the land. So you go in. Let's say you hear about a mobile home park. Walk us through. Somebody texts in and says, "Hey, I've got a mobile home park, gorgeous, really amazing area of Ohio, and we want you to check it out." What are some of the questions you ask yourselves in this analysis process?
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. We've got a fairly thorough vetting process. So we're looking at everything from not only the park itself and the performance of the park, but the area in general. So we're looking at demographics. We want to see a solid population, typically 100,000 people within 10 miles. More is a lot better, but we want to see either a stable or increasing population. We don't want to buy somewhere that's just been nosediving in population statistics for the past decade or more. As far as the park itself, it's sort of the same things that you'd look at in any asset class. You want to see condition of the property. You want to see what collections are like. Is there a ton of delinquency? What's the deferred maintenance? What are my CapEx issues going in day one? All of that obviously affects the purchase price. If it's a well-functioning, normal, full turnkey property, it's presumably worth a little more than something that's going to be a heavy lift turnaround project. So we want to get as much information, and typically that's through a rent roll, through a T12, previous year's financials, 3 years financials if we can get them. And then we'll be able to sort of formulate an offer from there. And then if the offer is accepted, we dive into a lot heavier due diligence, both financial due diligence and on-site due diligence, same as you would in any other acquisition.
And so the big lesson that we've learned, I feel like, is in the beginning, and this is every new investor does this, right? And you get into a new niche and you're very broad. You're like, I'll take on everything. I'll take on anything. I just want a mobile home park. And what we learned is there's just so many leads that come in because there's just so many properties. I mean, mobile home parks are small in terms of there's only 50,000 in the whole country, but like, you still get a lot of leads, and most of them are duds. And so what I teach, even if you're trying to buy a duplex, you're trying to flip your first house, it doesn't matter. Get real specific on what you want. So we've been like narrowing that criteria down. Like originally it was, oh, buy anything over 50 units. Then it was like anything over 100. Then it was, we got to make sure it has city sewer and water. And so you have these filters you pass through so that you can become an expert at a very small number of potential properties. But when those properties come up, you can jump on them quickly. You can analyze them faster. Otherwise, you just waste your time analyzing deals all day long, and you're just like the master. You're a jack of all trades, right? Master of none. Yeah. And so that made a big impact on us, is really focusing down on what is it we want. By the way, your criteria. Yeah. By the way, just quick shout out. I see Tarl Yarber's here. Congratulations, Tarl, on the new baby.
Dad.
Yeah.
Congrats, Tarl.
Thank you. Oh, you can unmute yourself. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Where's the baby? Where's the baby, Tarl?
Baby's asleep where it should be.
Wake him up.
Shake the baby. Wake him up.
Yeah, shake him up.
Tarl's so rested. He's been taking a nap. Every time the baby sleeps, he takes a nap. But everyone knows a newborn sleeps all day long. So
all day. Yeah.
All day. So Tarl's been having this long nap. It's been fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It's been great.
Yeah, easy.
Great to have you on, Tarl. Yeah. So, Brandon, that was awesome. Just about the filters that you kind of go through. And so you said, a lot of mobile home parks that, we see these days are all on septic. Like that's real common.
Yeah.
So
we don't touch them.
And you don't touch them.
Yeah,
So
even though we could, I'm sure people could make good money at it. We are not experts at that, and we don't choose to be yet. At some point we may, and we'll add that in, and then we'll become good at that and we'll understand it. But right now we just get specific. And it sucks that FOMO, that fear of missing out. Like I know you guys are like, everybody here on this call will have that. Where you're like, I only flip this type of house in this neighborhood. Oh, but then there's that one over there that looks really cool. It's a duplex, and I don't usually do that, but I think I'm going to. Those are when mistakes happen. Yeah. Like
it's the niches was where the success is. Right?
Yeah.
The riches are in the niches. You kind of get a specialty. You really focus in, hone in, really get to know what you're looking for. Easier to vet those out. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and once you're awesome at something at one niche, then you can expand other niches. So we're not saying like you obviously can't ever expand, but people just try to do everything at once versus get good, get perfect, then move to the next one, get that perfect, and then move to the next idea.
Yeah, that's great. Well, so Brandon, tell us a little bit about how the structure of the finances work, and then we're jumping around a little bit, and then we're going to answer a bunch of questions. But obviously, you found you got the criteria. You're going through those filters. There's city water. You've got sewer. You've got 100,000 population. It's growing. Community looks good. Close into town. Looks like the income's not too bad. COVID hasn't struck the whole city. Not everybody's locked at home. Looks like a decent deal. So then, how does the financing of these mobile home parks work with Open Door Capital?
Yeah, so we have a 506c fund, so we raise money at the fund level. So not a syndication necessarily where you raise money for one deal. We typically put we have 3 parks in our first fund, I think, 3 or 4.
Yep.
And then we have a bunch in the next, probably 7 we're gonna have in the next one.
5, 6.
Yeah, and so we buy multiple, and we do that for a couple reasons. One, because some of the parks are fairly cheap, and when I say cheap, I mean like a couple $1 million. And so it'd be a lot of raising money and lots of funds, lots of legal fees. You just keep doing a new one for each one. Yeah. And additionally, it spreads the risk out. So if one of them, something goes wrong with one, at least we got several others within the fund to spread the risk and diversify, which is really nice.
That's awesome. Explain to us just really quickly, for those who aren't familiar, tell us what a 506 is. Is that like a 501 B, C? So many different out there, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different options. 506c is what we have. It basically is a way the IRS or the government allows us to raise money for real estate deals. The government doesn't like people raising money for stuff. It's just everyone gets a little bit nervous because they don't want to lose grandma's money. So there is an exception though. You can go out and raise money for big real estate deals if you do like the 506B or 506C, and then there's Reg A and there's other stuff. But let's just go 506C says that I can raise money publicly, which means I can talk about it on a podcast. I can go on a call like this and tell all of you, come invest with 506, our 506C. I can do that, but I can't take your money unless you're rich. Is what it is. The government says the 506c, you can talk about it, but you can only take people's money who have basically they're called accredited investors. They make $200,000 to $300,000 a year, or they're a millionaire basically. So it's this idea the government saying, well, they're rich enough, so you can advertise, but you can only take rich people's money. Now the other side is the 506b. You can't talk about it. I couldn't talk about it on a call like this, but I could take your money if you're not rich. I can still take your money. So we made that choice because of our level of bigger pocket stuff. I wanted to be able to talk about what I'm doing. So we chose 506c. And so for that, we've now raised 14 million total. I think we're at right around 14 or 15, maybe $50 million, 15 raised in the past year. over 2 different funds. We then go out and get debt. So that's basically our down payment, our reserves, our closing costs, our everything like that. And then we get debt, usually, 50 to 65, 70% sometimes.
Yep, depending on the quality.
Depending on the
of asset.
quality.
Yeah.
So then we get loans on the rest, and that's how the financing works. And then we distribute money to our investors every quarter. Our goal was to distribute from quarter 1 on, and we've so far hit every quarter. We've distributed what we wanted to. So that's cool. So
that's awesome. So the 506C is where folks would basically contribute funds to, and then that's what you utilize to leverage a loan in order to acquire the property. Anybody who's new, I remember 506C and B. Basically, C stands for people with cash, and B stands for people who are broke.
There you go.
That's how I remember the two, because otherwise it's so confusing, right? So you only take accredited investors at this time.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you foresee down the road doing a B?
Probably.
Yeah, I think there's a big demand for it. It's just we're constrained that we wouldn't be able to advertise it. So you have to have a pre-existing relationship with anybody that's going to invest in your 506B.
Yeah.
So the trade-off that we chose to go with is a 506C, so we can actively promote it. And so far we haven't had any trouble raising money. So I guess we'd probably take a closer look at 506B again, because we know there's tremendous demand out there. It's just going to be a little tougher to navigate. If we were to run out of, say, 506C investors, we'd probably take a harder look at 506B.
And there's something called a Reg A, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but it's kind of combines the two together. A Reg A, you can advertise and you can take non-accredited money. There are other rules that are in play. That's what Grant Cardone did recently on one of his funds. So they have a Reg A fund. It's more expensive to set up, it's more complicated, and it hasn't been fleshed out quite as well as the other ones have because it's fairly new. But we may go that route at some point as well.
That's awesome. All right. So if somebody is interested in investing in and they're an accredited investor, just shoot you guys a message.
Just send me a check personally to my name, Brandon Turner. You can send it to my house here. And
to the new Tesla fund. How about that?
Yeah, to the new Tesla fund. Exactly. You can just buy me a Tesla and that will count.
Finance.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we have a website, opendoorcapitalllc.com or odcfund.com. Gets you there, and you can learn more about it there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Let's do one. The offering docs and see all the team member bios and learn everything about us. That's a good place to start. And if you have follow-up questions from there, you can just email the address on the website, and we're happy to answer questions.
That's perfect. Cool. Let's dive a little bit more. There's a couple more, some different questions that folks have had here on the side as well. Let's see. When it comes to, I think, land use restrictions, are there anything to be thinking about, so somebody's brand new and they're like, man, this is so inspiring. Brandon's beard and Brian's cool military haircut are inspiring me. So I'm ready to jump into this. What's
my $4 t-shirt.
Yeah. You look like you're ready for basic training, bro. It looks great. But what are some of those things to keep in mind, just kind of on a land use side, as you're taking a look at mobile home parks?
I think it's the same thing that you keep in mind doing due diligence on any properties. You want to make sure that it's zoned and legal for the use that you think you're going to intend to use it for. So with mobile home parks in particular, clearly you want to make sure it's zoned properly with the municipality. The big one that we seem to get hung up on is the number of lots. So we may have been presented with a 200 lot park, but when we go to the city, hey, it's only zoned for 75 units. All the rest of them are illegal. That's a problem.
Gotcha.
So, and there's some other things. Most of the mobile home parks that we see nowadays are just older. So a lot of them are non-conforming grandfathered use, and you want to make sure that grandfather conveys with the property, not just with the current owner. We're going through one right now that we have to go to city council and planning, and we're going to prevail with it. We're going to get the zoning change, but technically it's an illegal park right now. So we need that remedied prior to closing.
Wow, that's great. Owning illegal properties are a blast, man. That's the best part.
I love it.
Yeah, those are more stories to tell that way. So when it comes to mobile home parks and grandfathering in, is it true that there are no new mobile home parks that are starting to be built across the country in terms of?
It's not entirely true. There are new ones going up, and I forget the exact.
I think it was 7 last year, maybe. Or
yeah,
3.
It's
a single digits.
Very small number, and I believe more of them are getting plowed under than are getting built every year. Yeah. They're just getting redeveloped for higher and better use. But there are still parks being put in, and I think it would be a real challenge, and that's why you don't see very many of them. Number one, it's very costly to run all the infrastructure, but towns are not typically real excited to issue a permit for a new mobile home park in their city. Not just for the stigma aside, it's usually usually a revenue loser for them. It doesn't generate enough tax revenue to cover the cost that typically you see with the amount of kids in the park that need to go to school and the public services. So they're generally a losing proposition for a municipality. So they're not excited to issue zoning.
Yeah, interesting. That's great. Somebody asked a great question, just a Hawaii related question. Why are there not mobile home parks in Hawaii?
Yeah, it's the only state without them.
Yeah.
Because we haven't built one yet.
Yeah, because Hawaii doesn't have a problem with, we don't have a problem in Hawaii with low income, with affordable housing. And so the government just, I'm totally kidding.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Which Hawaii do you live on?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on the new island, the one that's still forming under the ocean.
Yes, exactly. The state with the highest problem of affordable housing won't allow in the best option for affordable housing in America. It's completely absurd. I'm thinking the only reason why is just because they didn't get on the train when it first got popular back in the 40s and 50s. And therefore it never became a thing. And then the stigma started, and then they're just like, well, we're not going to allow it now.
Yeah. Not in my backyard.
Yeah. We don't want to let all the poor people in. It's kind of the
so they'd rather just have 12 adults sharing a
exactly right. Yeah.
Foot single family home.
Yeah, the monster homes are okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then they wonder why COVID's spreading so fast. It's because everyone lives in the same house, and that's where it moves real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But well, when you're ready to do a mobile home park in Hawaii, I think we've got a ton of investors ready to go. Everybody part, so it's cool. Got a question here about could someone buy a share of Open Door or any 506C with an LLC?
I think we have LLCs.
Yeah,
as long as the principal of the LLC is an accredited investor.
Yeah, and if there's multi-members in the LLC, they all need to be accredited.
Oh, is it all?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha. Well, Brian, you're learning something right there. Just sitting.
I'm
right
learning
there.
right now.
Yeah.
I assumed it was majority, but that's good.
We're all on the same page. That's great. So let's see, a couple other questions. Are there any tools on Bigger Pockets or any tools out there you guys have that helps people assess or analyze mobile home parks?
Yeah, so Bigger Pockets has like the rental property calculator, the flipping calc, the Burr calc. Those are helpful up until I would say you get to like the 20, 30 unit range of a property. Mobile home parks, no. We not to the degree that you'll need to go. What we found with mobile home parks they are the most complicated underwriting you will ever do on any investment strategy. I'm convinced, other than maybe like a complicated business, but like on real estate. And here's why. You can buy an apartment and you go to the apartment owner and you say, okay, how many units are there? There's 12 units. Okay, great. What do they rent for? Here's the rent roll. You go to a typical mobile home park owner and you say, how many units do you have? I got 75. Wait, no, I have 82. No, wait, no, I have 87. I'm not really sure. You're like, okay, well, can I see your rent roll? My what? What's a rent roll? Well, can I see your where do you deposit money? Oh, we get it in cash. We just keep it in my underwear drawer. It's like that. Like that's combine that problem of lack of record keeping with just not like having good business owners owning these things, combined with having a dozen different types of income coming in. There's homes that people own. There's homes that the owner owns. There's seller financing at various. You might have 30 properties being seller financed at various terms in their seller financing, like within the park. And so every one of those has a different balance owed on them. What am I missing?
And even once you get that squared away, there's so many variables on your strategy once you own the park. So at what rate are you going to infill the lots? Are you going to do 5-a-year, 10-a-year, 15-a-year? What is the market support? And then how are you going to infill those? Are you going to run move-in specials to try to attract tenants to bring their own in? Are you going to buy homes yourself? If so, are they going to be used homes? Are they going to be brand new homes? What's your budget? What is the market support? So there's just so many different variables on what you're going to do to get this park turned around or just to operate it on a day-to-day basis, that it makes it very difficult or not. It's just very involved in underwriting. There's a lot of things to factor in. You don't have to factor in any other asset class.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like there's quite a bit to kind of sort through as you start analyzing a deal. So how does that work for your team? I don't imagine that you guys are jumping on a plane every time you get a potential deal. How are you? Yeah, probably not, especially from Maui, right? You're just like, yeah, this should be great. A nice 20-hour flight. But how are you guys analyzing these deals then remotely, or what's the process that you go through?
It varies on the property. Ideally, we would like to get physically in. We would like to set foot in every park prior to making an offer. I think it just makes our offer a lot stronger if we can say, yeah, we've been there. This is not a contingent on, sight unseen sort of offer. We like to get there. That's not always the case. And it's been a little more difficult now, especially with COVID. So if we're not there on site, we just try to get a real comfort level for what's there, either through Google Street View, or we might tap one of our resources locally to, hey, can you drive through this park and send us a video and try to give us a hand. We have the numbers, we know the financials, but we just want to get a feel for what this thing looks like driving through. So we always try to have at least that before making an offer. And then once the property is under contract and we're doing due diligence, we absolutely will fly and be on site at the parks and follow that through, whether we're doing the due diligence entirely ourselves or some of it we may, depending on how many properties we have under contract and what our schedule's like, we'll hire third-party due diligence companies to come in and give us a hand. But somebody is physically on site doing the due diligence and very thoroughly when they're there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have friends who work for Delta and Hawaiian, and they always say, hey, we saw this really tall guy with a lot of facial hair come on our flight. And I was like, oh, so he's going to go check out a mobile home park.
I don't check out them. I'll let Brian.
Yeah,
What did you do last week?
That's why I'm in quarantine right now.
Yeah.
I just did a 2-week whirlwind tour where.
What was that, like 30?
Yeah, we did. Like I visited 33 mobile home parks. 3 of them we did heavy physical due diligence. I toured a total of 33 mobile home parks. I flew 17,000 miles. I drove 3,100 miles.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, just to cover these things. Because what we figure is if I'm like any of these due diligence trips that I do, if we're buying in a market, we might as well try to buy other properties around there. So for the 3 parks that I had to do the on-site due diligence for, it was 2 to 3 days for those specific parks each. But then I might spend an extra day or 2 in town, and I would drive around and I would look at other parks and try to find off-market deals. That's one of the other ways we find deals is I'll actually go to these parks and trying to target mom and pop owners, not professional operators, but find the park owner, find the park manager. If, at the very least, I'll take pictures and video of that park so that maybe if I can't contact anybody while I'm on site, we can follow up with this park and try to pursue it and try to find the owner. But I've actually been there and we have video and we know what it looks like. So
that's awesome.
Try to make the most of those trips.
What's your success ratio on finding some of these off markets when you're actually pulling up and introducing yourself?
Pretty low, pretty low. But I mean, even if we buy 1 park for every 100 that I set foot in, it's still worth it. I mean, I think your percentages of anything, making offers or whether it's broker leads or otherwise is low. We're getting a lot better at it. If you look at our rate of parks that we spend time underwriting on versus offers presented versus deals actually closed, it's a much smaller gap now today than it was, say, a year ago. I mean, a year ago, we might underwrite 20 parks before we even are happy with 3 offers. Now it's pretty close to, if we underwrite 3 parks, we're probably sending out 3 offers because we have these kind of quick sniff tests, I call them, to try to weed these things out before we put a ton of time into underwriting. Now, the offer that we send out may be quite a bit lower than the listing price, but at least we've got the offer out. So we're getting smarter and more efficient with the time that we spend underwriting and the ratio of offers that are accepted.
So really it's starting off a lot like when you're door knocking for residential homes and doing flips. It's a numbers thing, right? You just got to do a lot of door knocking and then eventually somebody says, yeah, I'm interested. And then, trying to do the due diligence. So
yeah, we apply the exact same principle that I teach on Bigger Pockets constantly, which is like, I call it the lapse funnel. Every real estate investor does this, whether they know it or not. You have to get leads in. You have to analyze those leads. You have to make offers, or we call them pursue them. Sometimes it's an offer. Sometimes it's just a conversation, but you got to pursue. And then if you do that consistently, leads, analysis, pursue, you're going to get success. Like everybody does the same process, but the people I know in life who are the best real estate investors, like the guys like the Taro Yarbers here, right? And the Leica, and they actually know their numbers and they track them. And you guys like they know their numbers. Like they're like, hey, yeah, this is how many deals we analyzed last week. This is how many offers we put out. And they set goals like, hey, we're going to try to make this many offers. We're going to try to make this many, get this many leads. And then you can really diagnose your problem. Like, hey, we're just not getting enough leads. Okay, how do we fix that? Hey, we're just not getting enough deals. Like the deals we analyzed are way off. Okay, we need a better source of leads then. We're getting all our offers rejected. Okay, so we can kind of diagnose the problem based on that, and we track it meticulously, so we know exactly how many deals we came across our plate, how many were what does Walker call them, hard looks or something like that.
Yeah, hard look.
Yeah, hard look. Yeah. How many we actually underwrote, how many we actually made an offer on, and we set goals for every those. In fact, like we set a quarterly goal every time. We're gonna make 35 a quarter right now is where we're at. Yep. 35 actual offers, your LOI sent out per quarter. And we know that should trickle down to getting 3 or 4 deals accepted every quarter.
Yeah, and on this last trip, out of those 30 plus parks I went in, I think I wrote off probably 25 or 27 as like, I already know we don't want these. Like, I'm not even going to pursue it. I'm not going to try to find any. But there's 5 or 6 that were like, yeah, these things will definitely, they check our boxes on condition and market. Like, if I can make contact with even 3 of those owners, that's a win. And if we end up closing on even one, I think would be a big percentage, but you close on 0.5% of them of those ones.
Well, you guys had a goal of $50 million in mobile home parks in a couple of years. How are you guys doing on that goal, and how's that looking? And
yeah, that was what, a 2-year goal, 3-year goal?
It was a 3-year goal.
We're on track to hit it by the end of this year.
Yeah, we decided it was supposed to be end of 2021 is when I set that goal. I set a 3-year goal. It's part of the whole vivid vision thing that I underwent about a year ago. And about, I don't know, 6 months ago, we all sat down as a team and went, it'd be fun is if we hit that 3-year goal in 2 years instead. Like, what if we just pull a year off? Let's try for it. Cause it almost seemed too, like we were going to attain it by the end of 2021, like easily. And I like stretches. So anyway, yeah, we should, I think we'll hit it by the end of this year, or at least get pretty darn close.
That's awesome.
It's one of those, if you shoot for the moon, shoot for the stars, you might land on the moon. Like,
yeah, and we just work backwards from that.
I think you shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you still become a star. Something like that.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
I don't know. Brandon, were you going to show us something there on your screen?
Oh, just that this is the you can't see it, but it was 16,000 miles flown, 3,000 miles driven for Ryan, 33 parks toured, 17 airplanes flown in, 16 nights of hotel. So it just kind of shows like we go all in when it comes to I mean, so many investors will half do stuff, right? Like, well, I know I really want that property over there, but I don't really want to drive across town today during rush hour. So I'll just, not do it. Like we overcompensate all that stuff. Like we want to be in every park possible. And so that's just I want to demonstrate, we will put in the work up front, even knowing that most of them won't get accepted. We still do the work.
I think everybody would love the success, without all the hard work and without all the miles. And especially with COVID, there's all these excuses of not doing things. Yeah. But the hustlers that are out there right now, the Alex Camachos, the Taros, all of you guys, I mean, the ones that are getting out there in the midst of all this, they're crushing it. I mean, it's a great time in history right now for real estate. And so it's exciting. Of course, with that many miles flown and that many different airplanes, Ryan, I think you're in a 14-week quarantine, man.
Yeah, you should.
What?
You can't.
Oh yeah, I figured. It was funny going every state's a little different, so I'd have to get off the plane and do I look weird wearing a mask or not wearing a mask? Hawaii and Alaska are crazy. You go to Florida, they're licking toilet seats down there. Nobody cares. So I figure if I don't have COVID from this, the whole thing is a scam. Because if anybody should have it right now, it's me.
Yeah, totally. I flew out to Vegas to check on our property, and man, I was the only person in first class. Actually, I was the only person on the aircraft on Delta Airlines. Yeah. And it was spooky. It was super spooky to have the captain come up and say, "Thank you for flying."
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'm the only one here.
all the prepackaged snacks you want, because that's all there is to offer.
Yeah, exactly. And they offer it to you in gloves and with sanitizer. And you're like, man, this is crazy. It's one of the safest times to fly, actually.
Yeah, no, it's been great, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about a deal in which there are some challenges. What are some of the mistakes that you made along the way that you would say, hey, keep an eye out for these 3 mistakes?
The North Carolina one?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so we
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Early on, we got a property in North Carolina that we really liked. We actually flew out there. Ryan and I both flew out there and we checked it out. And this was before we had very strict criteria. So we're kind of we'll take whatever. And it was a 3-park portfolio, and a couple of the parks were pretty good, and one of the parks was just horrible when we got there. And anyway, the more we dug into the numbers and the better we got at the whole process, the more one of them was septic, had individual septics for every single home, and there's dozens of septic tanks, and we ended up backing out. I think we lost, I don't know, $40,000 or something like that.
Yeah, there were all kinds of mistakes there. Mistake one was not just writing that thing and writing it off and throwing it in the trash as soon as we saw it, because we had no business going after that small portfolio of parks. It just didn't fit any of what we now have as pretty strict criteria.
It was just FOMO. We were like, well, we need something. So
let's go find something. Yeah. And the other spot we got tied up there is the earnest money. And I still don't know what we could have done better to prevent this, but we put down earnest money. We backed out during due diligence for what was a very legitimate, very black and white reason during due diligence. And this is something to be aware of in any situation, that the seller just said, yeah, no, I'm not going to release it. He was just, and I've since heard the seller's been very difficult to deal with and has done some shady things to other people, but he just dug his heels and said, I'm not signing the release. So if you ever put earnest money up before the title company will release it, they want a sign off from everybody involved saying this is not going to be in dispute. He refused to sign it. So we actually had to litigate to try to get that earnest money back. Wow. And ended up settling for a fraction of the earnest money, which was very frustrating because we knew we were right. And anybody that's been to court, especially with tenants or anything else, just because you go to court and you're right doesn't mean you're going to win. So we opted to settle for a portion of the earnest money because we knew it was going to cost us more to chase it than it would be just to settle. So very, very blistering experience. Like it was real shady, but we are now aware of that. Anytime we put up any amount of earnest money, like that money's on the line, even if it's refundable and you have, all the contingencies in there possible to get it back, like there's still a risk that you're going to have to fight for it and you may not get all of it back. So you want to vet who you're doing business with, I think.
Yeah, sometimes that's really definitely challenging. But the good thing is sometimes the fear of not doing something and not taking action is going to cause more missed opportunities than actually moving forward and taking a risk.
Yeah, I actually don't regret it. I mean, we lost a lot of money, but I don't regret it. Like that moved us farther down the line of success with everything else we've done.
Yeah.
If people just worry about, I don't want that to happen to me, then they'll never do anything.
Right. So, I mean, at least getting started, especially something new like mobile home parks, it's at least get out there, analyze the ones that got septic, analyze the ones that look really bad and see what happens. And maybe just put smaller earnest money down. So if you lose it, it's not so bad, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Justin just said in the comments, 40,000 might prevent you from a $500,000 mistake later on.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's anytime you make a mistake, it will oftentimes prevent you from making a similar mistake that has 10 times the impact or is 10 times as much money at stake. So that's a great point from Justin.
Yeah, Justin's awesome. If you haven't gotten a chance to meet him, he's fantastic up here. Let's check out. There's a couple more questions here. I know we're running on closer to an hour here, but if somebody was to submit Obi's question to Open Door to review, what's the best way to basically answer that question?
Yeah, so if looking at deals, so the backstory of this is when we were looking at how to get more leads in our business, I looked at one of my unfair advantages, and I have a big podcast. And so we said, and a big Instagram. And so we made a site called bringbrandonAdeal.com, and we're just telling everyone, hey, bring us a mobile home park. We end up buying it, you'll get 50 grand. We're actually increasing that, right?
Yeah.
Did you decide that? Yeah, we're going to double that to 100 grand right now because we got a goal to set by the end of the quarter, which we're close to. But anyway, so if anybody wants to find us a deal, 100 grand referral fee. But to do that, basically to go find a deal. So the question was the best way to tell us I don't work for ODC or a company and still get them to open up about the possibility. So what we want in these situations is we don't necessarily need under contract. This is not like a wholesaling situation. This is literally just like introduce us with a warm intro to a seller. So if I were in your shoes, like if I were looking for a deal for somebody else, I would probably just say, get on the phone with this person, just build a relationship. Yeah, you could just say, I have a friend that's looking to buy a mobile home park. You could say that I'm interested in mobile home parks. Just say that you are, like you're interested in it. You also have a lot of friends in the industry that are looking at it. And so you're just trying to put out feelers to find out what's around the area. Like you don't have to be like, I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking they have to be super confident and going in there like they're, I don't know, like some billionaire like negotiator. When really it's just like, I just want to know what you're doing over here. Like, what's your mobile home park like? I mean, tell me about it. And then if they find it like, yeah, well, I got a buddy named Brandon. He's got a company. They're looking to buy mobile home parks. Do you mind if I introduce you to him? Like, I think maybe we could put together a deal.
That's awesome.
That's what I'd say. What do you think?
Tell us a little bit, Brandon. Tell us then if somebody was to bring you something to consider, instead of getting every single mobile home park in the country, what are some of the prerequisites that you would say, hey, at least filter these 2 or 3 or 4 things?
Yeah, it's really like the 100 units or greater, city sewer and water.
Yeah, those are the big ones. There's some other things that we look at, like I mentioned with population and some of the demographics. But
yeah, if there's like 9 people, I'm probably not gonna in that town. We're probably not gonna buy it.
Yeah, just the 100 100 lots, public water, public sewer will eliminate a vast majority of parks out there. Yeah. And the other thing that we're kind of looking at is the percentage of park-owned homes. The fewer of those, the better. But we don't expect people to answer every single question we have about the park. Just get the 100 lots, public water, public sewer. If it meets those, send it to us.
That's awesome, man. If nobody heard that,
we're looking for unlisted. I want to clarify that like if it's on LoopNet or Crexy, we've seen it, so don't send us those. But we're looking for.
Yeah, we get every broker lead. We're on everyone's list. Yeah, everyone knows we're like
truly off market.
Yeah, so off market, relationship based.
That's awesome.
It's really not like I was back in Grays Harbor County last week just for a couple of days, coming back from Yellowstone when we were on vacation. Anyway, I stopped there and there was like. Now that I'm looking for them, I saw like 3 or 4 mobile home parks that I'd never seen before. I lived there for a decade. I never saw them before. And I was like, I literally could have just pulled in, asked the manager and just be like, hey, are you the owner or manager? I'm the manager. Do you happen to have the owner's phone number? Great. Got the phone number. I can just call him up. Hey, just, I just drove by. I lived in this town forever. Never noticed your park before. I'm just wondering, like, is this something you'd ever consider selling? Like it's a fairly simple process. You're just being a real person.
Yeah. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, it makes it straightforward. That's awesome. Did you just go to Yellowstone, by the way?
I did, yeah.
I was there 3 weeks ago. It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, it was beautiful, except for everybody who had ever had plans to go anywhere on vacation, like Disney World or Europe, Hawaii. They all were like, "Well, we can't go there now. Let's go to Yellowstone." So everybody in America was at Yellowstone last week. Everybody.
Yeah.
So
and Grand Tetons and Mount Rushmore.
Yep. Yeah. All those things. Like just everyone had the same idea. Let's go and tour the U.S.
Yeah. Right now is a good time to buy a RV business, man. Those things are selling like hotcakes. It's crazy. So cool. How about a couple questions here about the tiny home movement and how that ties in with mobile home parks? Have you considered tiny homes as another alternative or similar investment?
Yeah, it's out there. I'm still not convinced that it's right for us. I'd like to see somebody else be successful with it at scale. I don't know if we necessarily want to pioneer the successful movement of tiny homes. I think there is some opportunity in some of the mobile home parks, especially the older mobile home parks that have very small lots, because a lot of these, when they were built in the 50s and 60s, the lots are very tiny because the homes are very tiny. And now in 2020, to infill some of those lots that might be 50 feet long, the average mobile home, modern mobile home now is 60 to 75 foot plus in length, and you can't fit it on any of these tiny lots. So I think tiny homes may have a place. We haven't found anything in our portfolio yet that would be applicable, but I haven't ruled it out. Some of the older parks we're looking at that are in great locations, they're in great overall condition. We're just constrained by small lots. I think that may be a place for some tiny homes if you can get past the municipal regulations and getting them permitted and getting them legal, which is a different battle in every city. If you can get past those hurdles, I think they do have a place.
And the problem with tiny homes is that the kind of person that tried to do a tiny home is like 27-year-old kid, still, like tattoos on his sleeves and works at Starbucks and has a piercing on his lip and stuff, right? Like that's like
not that we stereotype.
No, not at all. But they love the tiny home movement, right? The millennials love that, and the younger generation. They're not the ones renting from a mobile home park, so it would be hard to like the guy in the mobile home park. He wants a double wide, like a longer space. He's got a couple kids, maybe a kid that he has on the weekends. Like it's a very different demographics. You can't just take a tiny home and shove it in a mobile home park. You have to make a tiny home community. But then, that there's
and somebody else commented they're also more expensive than a mobile home, which is true. They are not cheap. So you're not saving a lot of money by getting a tiny home. I mean, they're
that's absolutely true.
Sometimes as much, if not more expensive than a mobile home.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, we'll wind down here in a second. I'm going to let some folks just kind of pop in, ask some questions. Tarl always has a great question, and there's a bunch of others with great questions. Of course, I just woke Tarl up. He's like, "What? I heard my name." But while we're waiting for some thoughts there and some questions, tell us about your most successful deal. Just kind of give us a inspirational mobile home deal that you've done that just like, hey, this worked out really well. It's pretty cool. Great location.
I mean, Hamden's pretty good so far.
Yeah,
right?
I like Hamden.
Value add percentage.
Yeah. So what did you purchase it for? What do you get for rent per space, if you will? And then, kind of what the revenues look like, something that just helps us to grasp the number side of it all.
Yeah, I'm going to go off memory here, and my memory's terrible, so bear with me. But this was the first small park that Brandon and I bought. This is outside of Open Door Capital, but just our test bed to see if, mobile home parks were a viable thing. And we bought a 50-lot mobile home park in January of 2018. We paid just over $1 million for it. I think there were 12, I think, vacant park-owned homes, and they were in various stages of burned out, blown out, deteriorated. We were able to fix up, I think, 8 or 9 of them. The rest of them we scrapped, and then we were able to bring in homes from outside the park and set those up. So now, less than 2 years later, we have that park totally stabilized. All the lots are full. All the homes that were vacant are now renovated. The NOI, I forget what the income increase was, but we did some calculations not too long ago, and based on the income from the additional lot rent revenue, and then we did some small rent raises, we've increased the value of the park nearly 80%. So it was $1 million park. We figure we valued it today, it'd be 1.9 million. And does that mean we could sell it tomorrow for that? Maybe not, but I think we could definitely sell the thing in a very short period of time for 1.5, 1.6 million, which is a pretty significant percentage increase over what we bought it for less than 2 years ago.
Yeah. Plus making cash flow, and plus all the benefits of owning it, and the cost segregation stuff that goes with it, and the tax benefits. Yeah.
We don't want to sell it. We have no intention of selling it. It cash flow is great, and we'll continue to hold it, until we have a reason not to, but that's a great sort of just small, short period of time turnaround.
And how does the cash flow look on that particular park?
We were using a report earlier.
Yeah. I mean, our NOI for last month was like just about 30 grand. And I think when we bought it, our NOI on a good month was like 7 or 8,000. Like, I mean,
wow. That's fantastic.
Significant boost. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. That is inspiring. Right on. Well, cool. Anybody got any questions you'd like to just throw out? I feel like I've been talking the whole time and it's been awesome. Thanks guys for such a great conversation over the last hour. But does anybody else have any other questions, or give a chance for them to chime in? Usually we have awkward silence at this point for a couple moments as we stare at each other.
Hey, Brandon, just want to say hi from Oahu.
What's up, Broderick? How you doing, man?
Doing so good. We're over here just chilling, man. We still want to come check you guys out over there in Maui.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to have you. I still use your the baby board, the board out at the beach, so it's awesome.
Oh, man, that's great news. Thanks, bro. Aloha. Thanks so much for being here. I learned a lot from you, and
yeah, thanks,
always
man.
listen to your podcast too, man. Always learning.
Yeah, come hang out. We'll go surf. We'll go surf Little Beach this winter.
Nice.
So long as you can surf at the beaches, right?
Yes. Yeah. We'll see how long.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question, Brandon, about your Maui flipping. If you guys are going to be trying to scale up, how many flips are you guys trying to do a year in Maui?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Alex, what's up, man? Good to see you again. I love that guy. Yeah. So yes, we just sold one actually yesterday, 2 days ago. Yeah. We sold one that you guys, Keiko funded. Thank you guys.
Anytime.
And yeah, it was awesome. We bought it right before COVID stuff went down. We just sold it. We cleared about 47,000, I think, is in profit on it. 47,000, which is awesome. But like, here's my worry. I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing, especially those of us who are in Hawaii, is what happens if tourism doesn't come back, right? Like Oahu at least has some like actual structure, but we're at like, I don't know, I'd see different reports, but anywhere from 50 to 70% unemployment on Maui. Like it's crazy here. Because everybody's in tourism here. So yes, I want to continue flipping. I really want to build a team out here. I want to build 3, 4, 5 people out here. I want to do a dozen flips a year. And then we're going to go land flip or flop, paradise on HGTV. Like that's my vision for the next few years. Whether or not we start that now or wait a couple years to see, I don't want to end up with a bunch of properties and then have tourism not come back. So short answer is, I don't know. We're taking it slow right now. And we're only going to do flips where that we could rent them out if we need to, because I'm terrified of Maui a little bit right now with flipping.
It's probably pretty true for a lot of us in Hawaii as well. Very similar sentiment.
Yep, it's a weird time.
It's crazy. I mean, the fact that tourism is just completely vanished.
Yeah, it's just gone.
And that's our main source of income. So it's going to be interesting, which means that, it's a good time in about a year from now, short sales for closures. So.
I think that's where there's gonna be so much opportunity, is picking up these foreclosures of the condos. I mean, I have this assumption, like if this doesn't come back, if this comes back next week and everyone starts traveling again, fine. Everyone will be fine. But if this doesn't, yeah, I think we're gonna have thousands of condos hit the market all around the same time next year. And you could pick up a bunch of those and then just hold them for a few years and then sell them when everything goes back to normal. And I think that's a cool play.
Well, right now in Hawaii, Airbnbs, you can pick them up cheap because all these people are sitting around going, I got nobody renting my house, and they're just sitting there. So it's interesting for sure. Yeah. Well, right on. Well, thanks, Brandon. Thanks, Ryan, for jumping on with us here at the Coffee Talk. It's been awesome. We have an ongoing conversation on Facebook at Keiko Exchange. So if any of you want to ask more questions, and we can funnel them to Brandon and Ryan. If you're interested in sending them a deal, check out their website, $100,000 basically finder's fee, right? Which is awesome. That should be somebody's good Christmas shopping budget if they can find a good deal for you guys. But with that, we're really appreciative. Thank you so much for being with us. Any final parting words from you guys?
I don't know. I guess I would just say everything you guys heard us say today, like in the big level, I think people have a tendency to hear like, oh, wow, they're doing all this big stuff, and that doesn't apply to me. Everything applies to the small time too. So if you're just getting started, you're trying to find your first deal, take the exact things we talked about today, everything from the funnel to the way that we over really do above and beyond in prepping for deals and checking out properties. Like that all applies to little stuff. So take that, put it in your business. And that's how you go from small to large, is by treating your business like a large business.
That's awesome. Ryan, anything?
Yeah, no, just props to everybody that's even on this call today. I mean, that's a huge step forward, is just staying engaged and participating in these meetups now, that whether in person or now they're all pretty much virtual, but stay involved with the community, put yourself around people that are doing what you want to do, and just make sure people know who you are, and opportunity will present itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm appreciative of all that you shared today. Lots of great details and gems. But I think overall, I think what's exciting is I love that you guys just picked an area to focus in this industry. There's so many different opportunities, but you chose one and then you just started to dive into it. I think that's a great lesson for all of us in real estate. I mean, we got everything's shiny. Every opportunity looks awesome. But just to pick one, Brandon, like you say, and just dive deep into it, just make it your niche. And so I think that's exciting to watch you guys really experiment, really grow, and journey through this. I love the fact that, Brandon, you're telling the story almost every week at a podcast right on BP about just kind of what you're learning, what you're doing. And it's great. It's the journey that inspires us all to take more risks and to consider, hey, maybe there's one other thing we could be experimenting with or exploring. And so just love that about it, whether it's mobile home parks or tiny homes or, going out and doing something else crazy. I think it's awesome. So great lessons today. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being on, and to everybody who's been on for today's Coffee Talk, thank you so much. We will catch you next week at the same time. And so from Maui and Oahu and everywhere else on the planet, aloha.